So I was reading this article. It was from it was an interview with this back in 2017 with Jesse Easinger, some Pulitzer Prize winner that wrote a book about why corporate CEOs never are sent to jail, and basically saying that part of the problem is the same people that are at the Department of Justice are the same type people that are the corporate CEOs, and so they don't see them as criminals, and so at the most they'll get fines. So this author also said that if you start putting the CEOs in jail for their criminal activity, it would have a cascading effect. Which yes, I would hope so. That's what needs to happen. But a lot of it has to do with money, because they have so much money. Like, that's part of the problem with our country, right? Is that people of any of any substance to the Department of Justice is only people that are as rich as CEOs. These are the biggest scumbags on the planet. I'm not kidding. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say this. Not only, like for hospitals right now, I've said it's really bad, okay? It's really bad. Like most nurses, in many situations, they're left alone. They're the only nurse. They may have a tech or something with them, but they're the only nurse, which means they can't leave the unit. They not even go to the bathroom unless it's like right there. Yeah, I've read stories. I'll show you. And these, that healthcare system I mentioned the other day, that is over so many psych units. Part of the criminality with them is in another state, I forget where it was, in Virginia, there was a bunch of children on their psych unit that were molested. How can these CEOs not go to jail? And so since they never go to jail, they don't worry about it. So that's the problem. It literally is. The Department of Justice isn't going to do anything. Part of it is an ego problem, I guess, because of Enron, they had lost some cases and some were overturned. So at the most, they only want to go after CEOs with fines. So that's the reason why the CEOs in healthcare and many other areas, but the CEOs in healthcare, this is what I'm going to say, because I'm going to put this right on the record here. The CEOs are short staffing so bad that it's dangerous. It's dangerous for staff. It's dangerous for patients. It's inhumane. And because they always get away with it, they just figure you'll be the one that's in trouble at the end of the day, because that's what will happen. If you don't get all your job done, even though it's impossible to do all of it in the conditions they're putting you in, then they'll say, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And if you really screw up, we'll send you to the nursing board. Well, I'm going to tell the nursing board, and I'm going to tell just everyone in the world that no, the CEOs of every hospital need to be held accountable for it lays at their feet the safety issues, not at the nurses. No. The nurses have been ringing this call for a long time. And unfortunately, a bunch of nurses decided to get on board with National Nurses United and American Nurses Association. Yeah, they're not going to help you. Again, they're going along with the same thing the hospital is, which is the diversity, equity, inclusion. You want to stay away from that. But so the very fact that your unions the people at the top got on board with that means they're in with the CEO. No matter how much they bitch and complain about the CEO, they are. Okay? Again, they're all tied to the UN, all those nursing unions. But here's the thing. The nursing board itself and the hospital CEOs, where these safety issues take place, to where children are molested, to where nurses are harmed, to where people are harmed, there needs to be a law in place where the nursing board themselves will go to jail. Because, see, the problem with the nursing board is they're really racist. They are. Because you're automatically guilty when you come in, and even if they find you completely innocent, they'll still just rake you over the coals for the mere fun of it. Because, if you were a hospital CEO, then they would, they'd roll out the red carpet for you. But you're just a measly nurse. So you know what? Do the best you can. I'm not going to sit there and hold my bladder for 12 hours anywhere. I will go off the unit if I have to. It falls on the CEO. It falls on the CEO. They know better. They know they've gotten away with this. They know they can get away with it. And they just figure, well, at the end of the day, the nursing board and everybody will hold the nurse accountable. No, this is why the CEOs need to go to jail. They're responsible for so many deaths. Not just deaths, harm to patients and staff. I mean, just that one healthcare system alone in Virginia, that hospital CEO, that healthcare system at the top itself should have been incarcerated. And they weren't. But a ton of children were molested. And that's the least, well, no, it's not the least of it, but there's a lot more besides that. And yet, instead, they got into that integrity agreement with the government. Yeah, I read the details of what that hospital did in Virginia that was under the same healthcare system that's all over the U.S. Just for psych. Well, maybe for others, but look, these people need to go to jail, and obviously DOJ looks at the corporate world as they're not criminals because they have a bunch of money. I mean, it's not like you can expect much from Department of Justice. When I reported the CEO of Northwestern, because he put those cameras in the week of lockdowns, that was from a company that Trump had blacklisted because of national security reasons. I got the serial numbers off of them. I took pictures of them. I reported for months to DOJ and FBI. Never zip a word. As I said, the White House did leave me a message. They said to watch for their call in the next week. They didn't call back though. They were the only people that got back to me about those cameras. And I took pictures. I looked them up. They were it goes back to one of the companies Trump had blacklisted. So Department of Justice is more interested in protecting wealthy corporate CEOs. But really what's worse is that it's not just these CEOs in corruption with money. It's that they are responsible for people's lives. Ultimately, the buck stops with them. So I don't care what the nursing board says, because if they want to go along with that shit and blame the nurse, no, you're just as bad as the CEOs then, because you don't want to do the right thing and stand up for the right thing. And the fact of the matter is, the buck doesn't stop with the nurse. It stops with the damn CEO. If you're not going to give us enough staff and you're going to force us into staffing conditions to where we can't even have bathroom breaks or get off the unit for 15 minutes, then guess what? When shit doesn't get done at the end of the day, or an employee or patient something happens, you are responsible, and there should be damages. The amount of damages that hospital CEOs in this country should have to pay is unbelievable. Yeah, they do not want to put hospital CEOs or CEOs in general in jail, because it would cause a cascading effect. That's what this article said. Well, that's what needs to happen. That's what I'd like to see happen. We would be a far healthier and safer world. These people, because there's never any repercussions from that for them, that's why this continues. And it gets worse, actually. It doesn't just continue, it gets worse. So the only way I could see it working, and I don't know how you do this, it ran through my mind today, is that since the DOJ feels too tight with the hospital, or not just with the CEO world altogether, because they all, as the article said, came from the same milieu. Yeah, that's what it said. So they don't look at, even though these CEOs have been involved in corruption and crimes, they don't see them as criminals. Yeah, well, they are. So I would think it would need to be other countries, their Department of Justices, that would arrest our CEOs here and vice versa, since there's such a conflict of interest here and DOJ is too weak to do the right thing. But nurses, you need to start telling your nursing board and all your unions, you shouldn't even trust them, but just say, you know what, no, if something happens, I'm going to do the best that I can. But the buck stops with the CEO and the people at the top that went along with this. You're not putting this on us. You're the ones that are criminals. You're the ones that have allowed people to get hurt, while we've sat here and had to fight for staffing and fight to say this wasn't my fault. It's not our fault. It's the CEOs. They got to go to jail.